as Americans learned that the United States had carried out an operation that resulted in the capture and death of Osama bin Laden.
That was President Obama getting interrupted last night with a standing ovation as he discussed the killing of Osama bin Laden at a bipartisan congressional dinner. We have just learned that President Obama, in the spirit of bipartisanism, has invited President George W. Bush to join him on Thursday at Ground Zero. We have also learned that President Bush has declined that invitation. The risky operation on the compound in a Pakistan vacation spot, which resulted in the killing of Osama bin Laden, has boosted the president's approval ratings, according to 3 new polls out today. In a poll by the Washington Post and the Pew Research Center, the president's job approval rating has jumped 9 points, his highest approval rating since 2009. 56% now approve of the president's job performance. 38% disapprove, 6% have no opinion. A CNN opinion research poll shows only a 1-point increase in the president's job approval rating since the news of bin Laden's death. 52%, a majority now, approve of the president's job performance. 43% disapprove in that poll, and 5% have no opinion. And a new Reuters poll shows an improvement in the perception of President Obama's leadership. 39% say their view of President Obama's leadership has improved since the killing of Osama bin Laden. 10% say it has worsened. 52% say their view has not changed. Senator John McCain weighed in on the president's leadership this afternoon.
All Americans should feel proud and appreciative of the leadership shown by President Obama and his team on this matter. It took real courage to assume the many risks associated with putting boots on the ground, and I strongly commend the president for it.
Joining me now, David Corn, Washington bureau chief of Mother Jones Magazine and an MSNBC analyst. David, thanks for joining me tonight.
Good evening, Lawrence.
David, the bipartisanship seems to be still afloat in Washington. President Obama inviting President Bush to Ground Zero on Thursday. President Bush declining. Senator McCain praising the president, unabashedly praising, no ifs, ands, or buts around it. We haven't seen this moment before in the Obama presidency, have we?
Well, not really. He hit a grand slam. The entire military intelligence community did, and to give credit, this is an operation that preceded Barack Obama's entry into office. So, under the Bush years, they were working on finding these couriers and tracking them down. We have that debate over whether the waterboarding led to this or not. But regardless of that, this preceded Barack Obama. So I thought it was a very generous move on his part to invite George W. Bush. And maybe it's a generous move on his part to say, no, your moment, I would literally be the third wheel there. Thank you very much. I'll see you in September.
The White House, the stakes for the White House could not have been higher. We can all imagine what would have occurred if that helicopter went down, it couldn't be recovered, and then perhaps another one did, and the mission went awry. This would have been one of those Jimmy Carter moments. It probably would have been an irreversible damage
you and I
to the
lived through that Desert One, debacle when Jimmy Carter tried to rescue the hostages held in Tehran by Iran extremists, and it was disastrous for his presidency. Who knows whether that led to his loss months later to Ronald Reagan, but it certainly tarnished him. And I think in this instance, too, Barack Obama and his advisors had to know that if this didn't go good, once again we'd have another, Democratic president who botched a rescue attempt. The beef on Obama is from the left. That he's a wimp when it comes to political fights. He doesn't want to really put anything on the line. And from the right, it said that he doesn't care about national security, that he's weak and he's indecisive. I think in this instance, at least, he showed that he was willing to do what probably was the political risky thing, because he thought it was the right thing to do. As Leon Panetta told Brian earlier today, their intelligence said 60-80% chance that that Osama bin Laden was even there. But put that aside, you had to have these 40, 60, however many SEALs there were, going in 2 helicopters, and a million different things could have gone wrong. Things far beyond the president's control. A stray bullet, one false assumption about one aspect of the operation, and the whole thing could have blown up, and he would have taken the biggest hit for that, politically speaking. And he still said, go ahead. I think a lot of other politicians, looking at the cost-benefit analysis, would have been reluctant to go ahead. This was a gutsy call. You know, in that regard, Dennis McDonough, John Brennan are right.
David, 10 hard drives found, 5 computers, more than 100 storage devices. This could be one of the great treasure troves of intelligence since 9/11 to have been obtained. Not only the taking out of Osama bin Laden. What need the White House do, the Obama campaign do, to fight this image that has been out there in our politics for so long, that the Democrats are not good at this sort of thing, that the Democrats are soft on defense, that you are not safe, as the Republican campaign in 2004 said, you will not be safe if you elect the Democratic president?
Listen, we've seen this up to date in the Republican wannabes for 2012. They've been attacking Obama for being bad on foreign policy, but also, Dick Cheney said this, for not understanding the threat of terrorism, for not really caring about the threat of terrorism. Well, I think regardless of what the polls say today, a 9-point bump, a 1-point bump, it probably will level out over the next 18 months. But anytime they try to play that card, Obama's weak on defense, he can say, hey, weak on defense, ask Osama bin Laden. Oh, you can't. He's at the bottom of the ocean.
David Corn, I showed the tape last night of President Bush back when he had basically given up looking for Osama bin Laden, and it was shocking to our audience, many of whom had forgotten that moment, where they simply disowned the search for Osama bin Laden and said it's not important. President Bush saying, I don't really know where he is, I don't really care where he is. That's how far they went with that because they weren't making any headway. It seems to me that what President Obama has accomplished here should change that imagery, but the Republicans have been incredibly clever about how to campaign in this territory, and I assume they will continue to be.
I think they lost the Obama is weak on defense card, and they will not be able to play it between now and the election.
David Corn of Mother Jones, thanks for joining me tonight.
Thanks, Lawrence.